Hello, Eric Walczykowski here, CEO of Bespoke Partners and host of Tailored Talent. Today, I am joined by Jay Nguyen, the newest partner in our technology practice. Jay, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you, Eric, for having me. I'm delighted to be part of the team.
Fantastic. Well, Jay, tell me a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? Talk to me a little bit about who you are.
Yeah, I debated on this a bit. I'll start with the very early days. So, born in Vietnam, immigrated to the States when I was about 3, right after the war. We landed in Amarillo, Texas. And if you ask me where that is, I don't know. So we're there for a very short period. My dad caught wind of the tech boom that was happening in California. So we packed up a car and we drove. It felt like 2 weeks it took to get to California. And so that's how I got to California. And, early on, academia is big for our family. My dad pushed my brother to be a doctor, my sister to be a nurse, the other one to be a teacher, and said, you go be a pharmacist. So that was kind of what I was trained to do.
I thought you were going to be the unicorn and say that he pushed you to get into executive search.
But yeah, no. Like most parents, they do not know what that is. To this day, they still ask me, what do? You help people find work? I was like, no, it's a little bit different. And so I went to school to be a pharmacist, but a close friend of mine actually joined a company called Intuit. You might know of them. And it kind of introduced me to this tech world, this recruiting world, which was different, to your point. Never heard of it. And I said, okay, tell me more. She said, I can actually introduce you to an HR leader. You should talk to her. Where, we need a lot of folks. We need to hire people. I said, sure, why not? And had a conversation, and one thing led to another, and never looked back. Right. So started my career at Intuit in executive search. We were pretty heavily reliant on agencies. We wanted to build that muscle, if you will, internally. So with the guidance of our TA leader, we kind of took on that opportunity and said, hey, why not? So luckily we had some good wins. We were kind of focusing on VP level and above. And with that, they say, hey, why don't you take this and scale this out and take on director level and above, and do this globally, by the way, and build out a team. I said, hey, that sounds interesting. So did that for a number of years, and it turns out I was there for well past 10 years. So I realized, hey, at some point I should probably learn something new. We advise leaders all the time when we talk to them, hey, at some point you should think about a new set of customers, a new set of problems to solve.
Yeah, so before we go into that, I mean, you were at Intuit for quite a while and during a pretty transformational time in Intuit's journey. Talk to me a little bit about the journey there, what you learned, and the overall process.
Great question. It's funny because what I personally learned at Intuit kind of relates to what a lot of what our clients ask of us. Hey, we're going from this desktop to web journey. We did exactly that, right? When I joined, Intuit still had Quicken. And for those who may remember, Quicken was shipped out on a CD. I remember a staff meeting would say, hey, should we send out the CDs like AOL used to do? Right? It would send you these discs and you just stack them up as, I don't know, where you put cups on it, cup holders or something of that sort. So yes, we saw that journey from desktop to web, but web in the sense that we were still hosting it. So we're still building out data centers, hosting this on-prem. And then cloud became a thing. So we saw that journey, luckily, throughout my entire time at Intuit. So a lot of times when I talk to clients, I say, oh yeah, we learned this along the way. I mean, forget about technology. How do you even recognize revenue and all the other stuff that comes with it, right? So to your point, very grateful I had that opportunity and learned a lot.
Very cool. Talk to me about some of the transformative searches you worked on while you were at Intuit.
Gosh, pretty much everything. We, maybe a little foolish and naive, we wanted to take everything. And there were times when the board said, no, we're going to go with a certain individual for this CFO search, for example. But yeah, we tried to take a swing at everything, right? CTOs, CIOs, GMs. I think we got the most at bats at the VP, SVP level, right? So the most transformative roles, CIO was a big one. Actually hired 2 CIOs for Intuit. I don't think he's currently CIO now, but he was CIO for a long time. That was a hard role back then, right? Because imagine if you're transforming to the web for clients or for customers, you have to do the same for internal employees, right? So you have these old legacy systems. PeopleSoft was a thing back then, and before Oracle got involved. And so we saw that Oracle 11i journey. We saw all of that stuff. And then doing that with 300 different systems internally was complicated. All right, so finding the right business leader who can drive that type of change, and by the way, bring in new technology in a way that makes sense for all, that was tough.
No doubt. That's fantastic. Well, one of the things that, as we got to know each other through the recruitment process that I really enjoyed is the insight you bring from an internal talent leader or human resource professional. So talk to me a little bit about the transition into search and the unique viewpoint you have as the internal leader as well.
Yeah, I was always curious, but for whatever reason, I declared executive search and put a flag down early on, like, this is how I want to build my career. Didn't want to be an HR business partner, didn't want to do rewards. I said search was it. And if I look within that world, I always actually had a lot of respect for how the agencies did. right? We worked with the Shreks of the world at the time, Korn Ferry, Heidrick, and others, and I had the opportunity to learn a lot from them, right? So it was great. I mean, in a way, there was a love hate. Hey, we want to take on the search, but at the same time, you guys do it really well, and then we're solving for the right outcome. Hey, forget where it comes from, right? If it's from you, that's great. If it's from us, that's great. So it was an interesting journey, but I knew one day, hey, I can't do this forever. And if I go to another company like an Intuit, it'd be less interesting. Let's go to the dark side and see what happens. And then, we started our own firm and learned a ton. I mean, there's the craft to exec search done at the agency level is really, really great. And once I had exposure to it.
Now, fantastic. Well, I mean, you came here clearly to focus on technology roles, CTOs, VPs of technology, CIOs, and the like. So talk to me a little bit about how you approach those searches.
I think I approach those searches like any other search. All right, it's just sitting down and having a conversation with the leader. In reality, they're solving for something. There's probably a set of customers with some problem, be it internal or external, and there's some goals associated with the role, and they're just having a conversation. Why do you want the CTO? It's very rarely because we want to build out this new tech because it's cool. It's generally solving some type of customer problem. And so once we have that conversation at that altitude, if you will, it naturally goes down and up and sideways depending on where the conversation goes. Oh, well, what are you doing with the tech stack? Well, why did you choose AWS? But you don't lead with that. It's about, well, we want to choose AWS because we were doing on-prem. It cost too much money. All the storage, compute problems. Fun tech stuff. I guess I consider myself a bit of a geek in that way.
No, that's fantastic. Well, what are you seeing in the current market or tech trends that you're currently seeing?
Tech trends. If I had to pick one, probably not going to be too surprising. It's going to be around AI, right? I mean, pretty much as everyone knows, the big players, OpenAI, Meta, Google, Apple, you name it. All the big players are investing billions into this space. Pretty much every CTO and product leader I talk to says, hey, in our product roadmap, there's a key AI initiative. Gen AI, computer vision, whatever. There's something related to AI, right? There's kind of this rise of this new role because of that. You kind of see this new acronym, CAIO, right? Chief AI Officer, right? That's always fun to create new acronyms. And I think research shown that in the last 2 years, like 13% of organizations have invested in that role, and it only anticipated an uptick from there, right? And then you even have other countries making it more interesting. Not sure if you heard, but in the last few weeks, a company called DeepSync from China has caused quite a commotion. All right, I mean, how's this new startup in the last few years with just $5 million in funding create a product that's better than ChatGPT? Had more downloads on the iPhones. That was kind of eye-opening for folks. NVIDIA got a little nervous, right? Hey, you need less of our GPUs to do this. How do you train your AI model? So that whole efficiency route they took. So it's going to be a lot of learning. So anticipate a lot of startups coming up, international players like these kind of coming up. So interesting time for AI. So
very cool. Well, as we think about the market for talent right now, particularly as it relates to technology roles, I like to say, hey, we only recruit the best of the best, so the market's always tight. But talk to me a little bit about what you're seeing in terms of the market for talent for tech roles.
I don't think it's too different for other leadership roles, at least from tech leaders I talk to. I think the common themes I'm seeing, I would probably describe as the 3 R's, if you will. I think the first R being around risk, right? I mean, this whole mindset in the last so many years of grow users at any cost, I think that's behind us. Companies that traditional venture model is less interesting for folks. Right now, the PE playbook makes sense, right? These are companies that are profitable, rule of 40. All the questions we're being asked. Hey, what's the funding like? What's the exit strategy like? Is this equity even real, right? And so those are things folks are asking us. And so that's one trend I'm seeing. So kind of the whole notion around risk. And I guess the second R would be tied to that. It's around reward, right? There's always risk to everything you do, but is the reward worth it, right? What's the opportunity to learn? Can I learn some new AI tricks? What's the promotion opportunity? Is it a bigger role? Is there a significant financial reward at the end of the tunnel? Right? So that's the second R. And I guess the third one is kind of new, and it's around remote, right? It's this thing COVID kind of brought into the business world, right? You got a dose of it. A lot of folks really enjoy it, and it's a polarizing topic. There's no right answer really. You can argue both sides, but it matters to people. So these folks I talk to, hey, I'd rather do remote before I relocate. And so those are the common themes, and I think that applies to technologists. It's seldomly, hey, give me this new toy or new tech stack to play with. It's, hey, those 3 things matter to me and my family. You can solve for those. Tell me more.
No, absolutely. So do you think about the year and how it shapes up? What are you seeing for tech roles and the leader market?
When I think of tech roles and product roadmaps, it felt like in the last few years, we've kind of been on this pause mode, right? So I think for the next year or two, I'm anticipating the unpause button being hit. Right? We focus on top line with CROs. We focus on bottom lines with CFOs. Now we got to bring back CTOs, chief product officers, chief technology, because we still have to innovate for our customers, right? It's a highly competitive world. Unless we do that, and we can't stay paused forever. And so I anticipate that we'll have an uptick for those needs, product leaders, engineering leaders, et cetera.
No doubt. What do you think about the CIO role or the CISO role?
CISO role is an interesting one, right? It's important. A lot of folks, I think if you talk to the CEO in Microsoft, you say, hey, what's the number one most important thing for you? You'd say security, right? And a lot of folks, if you ask them what keeps you up at night, it's security, because your company brand is at stake. What your customer will think of you and your products. At the end of the day, I don't care what you can do for me. If I don't trust your product, I'm probably not going to use your product. So it's going to be a big one. So I do see an uptick there for sure. CIOs, the colleague experience, it's kind of a blurred line between external and internal customers, right? They operate the same. They're both solving for the same customer, just with a different hat on. And so the CIO needs, especially if companies continue to go to the cloud, continue to invest more in AI tools to make things more efficient for all parties. Look, I think every role would benefit from all that.
Very cool. Well, Jay, I really appreciate your take on the tech market, the tech leaders market. I like to end every episode new with a fun fact. So give me a fun fact about Jay Nguyen.
Well, we had to reset your expectations around fun, but I'll do my best. So, I think for me, every decision I make, be it professional or personal, solves for the same group of people, and that's my family, right? So, been married for 17 years, 2 beautiful daughters, 15 and 11. And, as a family, we love vacations. And for whatever reason, we said Disney cruise is our thing. So I didn't grow up with Disney. My wife did. And she kind of opened my eyes to the magic later in life and fell in love. So we've been on a Disney cruise 8 years in a row, and we're planning one this summer. So that's our thing. And I guess when my family gets sick of me, and they need a break, I'll go play some tennis. That's kind of my re-energizing, playing tennis, watching tennis. Those two things, keep it simple.
So Disney cruises and tennis. So all the clients out there who are listening, keep your eyes open on your next Disney cruise. You may run into Jay Nguyen.
Exactly.
Fantastic. Well, Jay, I really appreciate you hopping on today and giving us a little bit about your background and what you're going to be doing in 2025. Thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me, Eric.